so I'm going to show you a really simple technique for getting a really clean graphic with your design. And what I've done is I've gotten some poster board here, just the cheap stuff that you might get at a dollar store or a cheap store. And I've got some repositionable contact paper here. Now, contact paper, shelf lining paper, you can get it in all colors and all patterns. I just happen to have a sheet of transparent. And yes, it rolls up and is a pain in the butt, but if you take a larger sheet, and I'm bending it into kind of a U shape, and then put it down, watch, it'll give me trouble. Put it down like that, and then smooth it out. That usually works. The other thing that is nice about working with this is if you take another piece of paper and put it underneath where you're going, you can roll out any air bubbles that might appear. And so just by moving this sheet from underneath it and protecting where it's going before it lays down. If you have a large sheet, that really works well too. Okay, now, I'm sorry it's hard to see, but there's a little bit of sheen there. And I'm going to act as though I have taken my design that I've gotten and played around with, and I've copied that design. And these designs are from Chandler's Godzilla. So I'm going to pretend like I've got a design here just to show this technique. And let's say that some of those designs, I'm looking at them now, might do something like this. I'm enlarging them to show detail. And maybe I've got something like this going on. I'm just adding some strange stuff to it. Now, the other thing I might have decided is that I really like this idea of maybe some radiating lines here to show some movement or to get a cool optical illusion going. Maybe I'll change those lines. I'm watching very carefully to make sure that I go actually across a line and don't make a Y with a line, which is why that one bent while I was talking. Okay, so here we have an X to work with. So I'm curving the shapes here. Now, you, of course, would be doing something much more careful. This is just a demonstration. So I now have a kind of odd design that I want to make positive and negative. You can add lines to it at any point. What I do now is I just take an X-Acto knife. Now, this is all drawn on top of the contact paper, and I'm going to cut straight into the line on the board. I'll feel the board when the knife hits it, and I'm not going to go through the board too much. So I do want to do this with one line, not with multiple cuts. If I was taking my time and making a piece of art, I would absolutely positively be using a ruler to help guide my hand at this point, because I want these lines to be super steady and straight. Now I'm going to just let this stay because you'll get this idea pretty soon. Now I'm going to be doing some movements like this. I'll just do half the design. And as I come around here, one thing that can really help is to bring your knife blade straight up and down, not at an angle, so that if you have to pivot or turn and the blade doesn't want to turn, bring it straight upright and it'll start to turn better. So try to keep your knife blade straight up and down, not off at an angle or anything. But if you get to where you have to like move the board or move your hand or your body, make it go up into the point. What happens then is that the blade kind of sticks in the point and won't move around as much, so it gives you far greater control. Okay, so I've just about gotten through to the main lines I've made, and you have to almost feel to see if you've missed any of the lines. So I'm going to go across these, and again, I'm being really fast and imprecise because it's a demonstration. You'd be doing it beautifully, so it came out just right. Now I can keep adding as many lines as I need to these lines here. I could make the blocks smaller. I could add extra shapes. I mean, at this point, you're the designer. So I'm going to come through here. The only thing that you have to really be careful of is that you get these X shapes because it's black or white. You cannot have a shape that comes in and makes like 3 lines a Y shape working. I think I already got this one. Okay, so once you get your design cut out, and this is actually pretty easy because you're just cutting into the board, you take away every other one of these contact sheets. And it might be kind of hard at first to get it to come up, but it comes up really nice and cleanly. So I know if I've got this one is going to stay here, I'm not going to work on this side of the line. This one comes up, this one stays down. This one comes up, the next one stays down. And so this one stays down. Now this one comes up. And I'm just making sure on each one that I'm picking the right one. Now, if I'm not, I can always stick my shapes a little bit to the side, as you see there. And they may come in useful. I mean, they're part of the design. They would go with the design since they came from the design. So once I start getting all of these done, this is a great OCD thing to do if you're watching a movie or just listening to some music. You can really get in the flow of just doing one line after the other. I missed a line here. Okay, so once you do this, you can now paint underneath it or use your marker underneath it or whatever it is you decided to use. Spray paint works well on this. This can also be done on metal, where you can put some contact paper down on a piece of metal and then spray paint it. You can use spray paint on the board, you can use acrylics, you can use a magic marker, you can get all kinds of pretty cool shapes like this. Now this shape, because I didn't cut it well at the end, just wanted to pull up a shape, the clear shape. And what's nice is the cut marks tell me exactly where that shape should go back. So hold on to your shapes, because if something screws up, you can replace the shapes that you've taken up. Okay, almost done here. Any kind of repositionable shelf paper will work on this. I'll show you some stuff with tape later. Tape will work. You just have to use a lot of it. And the contact paper, you can find it at dollar type stores or big lots, so it'll be pretty cheap. Okay, so now once I've done this, if I were to do this in acrylic paint, I would be very tempted, before putting the paint down, to take some gel medium, like some Mod Podge, and coat the whole thing with Mod Podge, because sometimes wet media, like acrylic, can kind of get underneath the edge that you're working on, and you want to have a real clean edge. So all you do on that is you put in a little bit of gel medium. Now, what's nice about this is I want to have really, really clean shapes in here, but when I go over it with my Sharpie, it might need a couple of coats with this particular board, but I can just be pretty direct in how I go over them. What I'm doing is I'm coloring in the holes. I happen to have a big old pump action big marker, which is nice for projects like this because you just don't take any nonsense with it. You just do it, right? Of course, this could be any color of acrylic paint on a brush. Okay, now this kind of paint marker takes just a second to dry. So, but that's how I did this one. And I would not be surprised if I smudge this, because I'm going to just go ahead and move it so that the tape's not too long for you. Okay, here we go. Oop, big shape there, I think. Maybe not. Okay, so once I have this done, make sure I get everything. Yep. Then I take my knife blade again. I would walk away normally and let this dry, but can't find the shapes, they've disappeared. There we go. Okay, and like I said, it's going to smear because I'm not being patient. Yep, I missed an area. Ooh, I screwed up. things like that, you just come back with the marker, right, and fix it. If you get any bleeding on this, it's just because I'm not waiting for the ink to dry all the way. You can get some very cool effects with this. Now, since it's black and white, it's also very easy to photocopy. And if you happen to have a printer and want to play around with a printer doing, you know, you do one of these and you do it, it's called a module. It's just you do one section. And then you get a copier. Sorry, we're moving. Then you get a copier and you start copying a bunch of images and you try to like enlarge it and reduce it. Now you can scan it and work with it on the computer too. I think that when you work hands-on at first, that you actually try a lot more things than you might have tried on the computer because you're into making it yourself. So now you're starting to see that for the most part, if you don't rush too much, you get some pretty cool geometric shapes going on using this technique. So even, okay, let's see, exposed. This one didn't get painted, it looks like. Nope, feels like something happened there where I screwed up. Not quite sure what. Let me pull this one up. I think I just missed a box. Yep, missed a box. There we go. Notice how it's not a big deal if you screw up. I think I was talking and I missed a shape here or something. Anyway, the exception of that, what happens when you start doing pieces like this and you start getting those geometric shapes real nicely, this is where I was using a ruler with it. That often works as well. And you can have fun pulling all these weird little pieces and parts off. Somewhere I screwed up. I'll have to analyze it and tell you where it was. So that's a technique using the clear or transparent, or even with a color on it, it doesn't matter, contact paper. Put it out over your piece. I used a Sharpie to mark on it with. You can also trace through with this. And then you just pick up every other one and play around with that effect. All right, sound good? All right, folks, I'm going to go to another video for you so that this doesn't take too long on the YouTube loading, and I will talk to you in a minute about another cool technique. Bye. That's it. That's goodbye.